It would be great if it worked out that way, and typically it doesn't.
Okay, I am super excited to have Ellie Somers here. And Ellie Somers is from Sisu, Seattle, which is on the other coast. So she's outside of Seattle, Washington. And Ellie and I go way back to Women in PT Summit. And then also, and this is a surprise, you don't know this, Ellie was the person who turned me on
I don't have a pair.
to my Gooder sunglasses, which are my favorite.
They're the best. They are the best and most stylish.
Exactly, and super comfortable. And actually, if you scratch them, just go get some more. So. But Ellie is such a huge voice and kind of force to be reckoned with in the PT profession, especially with women empowerment and helping female athletes get back to what they're doing. And Ellie's got a webinar coming up that we're going to talk about at the end here, just looking at strength training in women's runners. So I wanted to bring Ellie on to just chat about a few things. And I'm so glad we got to connect. And I love talking to people, especially in this weird space where normally I would see you by now.
I know. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful to be here.
Absolutely. Okay. So we'll dive right in. First question. What are the biggest mistakes you see coaches or PTs make when they're helping women return to run? So I literally just feel like this is right up your alley.
Gosh, I think there's a lot of context that gets missed. And I think it's very dogmatic to think that for any person to return to run after injury, after pregnancy or whatever, it's a very linear path. It would be great if it worked out that way, and typically it doesn't. Right. And so I think the biggest mistake is neglecting to give women some autonomy and agency over their situation. And really what I mean by that is letting them dictate the path a little bit more through a sensibility. Like, you don't want to be, jumping ahead too many steps, of course, but I think that especially women, we just bring a lot of different nuance to the table, things that we have to deal with in our day-to-day that aren't always considered in a rehab return to sport or even in a coaching sense. And so I think, generally speaking, in my view, it's like really helping a person understand that they have options, and then it's their choices that are going to lead us in a direction.
Totally. Yeah, I run into all the time women that are looking for the right way to go back to postpartum. And it's funny, like I used to kind of shut it down and be like, there's no right way. And then what I realized is that was just an opportunity to be like, well, what does the right way mean to you?
Right.
And what does that look like? Because it's so different for a first-time mom that, she has ideals of how everything's supposed to be, and hasn't even taken that first, step to go for a run to find out what's going on, versus like a mom with 2 or 3 kids at home that, okay, maybe she's got some of the newbie stuff, worked out, but she's still trying to figure out self-care in the context of 2 or 3 kids at home in a pandemic and that sort of thing.
Exactly. I think, you run the gamut of, like, as a coach and as a PT, you have to be able to fill the needs of somebody who has these other demands, while also being able to fill the needs of somebody who's like, I can run every single day.
Right.
And I think that there's like this idealistic state that women have, like, you set your sights really high. And I think my job as a physical therapist and coach is to really like allow them to know where that target is, and then gradually help. Like, often I'll describe it as like, we're in a dark forest right now.
Yes.
Hold a flashlight, but you lead the way. And that can be uncomfortable to do, because sometimes people don't make decisions that fit with what we think is best for them.
Yep.
But I think in working with female athletes and women in general, that's a really huge priority for me, is to give them that authority and give them those reins a little bit, so that they can really shape their own experience.
Now, do you think you kind of coming to that in your kind of professional approach. Is that something you picked up from, coaching training, from being a PT? And I'm leading the question because I kind of already know, but I wanted to just hear it from your mouth. Like, where did that come from?
It's tough to know. I don't know. I think like a little bit of both. So there's, in physical therapy and interviewing people, there's like the motivational interviewing, the study of pain neuroscience, and that combined with my concept of what a good coach is and what they do for people. And it's sort of a blend of the two in ways. And I think that the coaching world, being exposed to incredible coaches, just strength and conditioning, to run coaches, to business coaches, you start to realize like that what a good coach does is not dictate the path.
Yes.
It's more of a transformational experience and relationship. And that has become a very high value of mine. And I think in my experience as a person navigating the world, started to make me see, like, I want to be, I want to run and I want to lift, like, help me do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this is perfect. I did just on Tuesday, one of my friends and colleagues, Meredith Elamine, she owns South Arlington CrossFit, or South Arlington Fitness and Nutrition. Her background, it's super interesting. I met her through Anthony Lowe, but her background is a CrossFit coach. She also has a strong background in yoga. And then also she's a former behavior analyst.
Oh, wow.
And so you throw all these things together. We had an awesome conversation. It's up on IGTV, but that was one of the things we talked about, was finding, kind of walking alongside and helping, especially moms. We have to have ownership. We have to be able to have a say, because there's so many things that we don't, especially when people are grabbing your boobs and mom, all this other stuff. Like, no joke, Monday morning, my kids, who are now 7 and almost 10, no less than 17,289 times, mom. I'm like, exactly. So this actually meshes really well with that. So awesome.
Yeah.
All right, next. So that was a little bit more geared towards kind of coaches, trainers, that sort of thing. Like, for women, what are the top things that they should consider when they're trying to find help getting back to running, no matter what that looks like, whether it's a PT, whether it's a run coach, whether it's a strength and conditioning coach or a postpartum coach? Like, what are, 3 things that they should be looking for when they're kind of trying to vet that resource?
So I think, like, first thing is you have to know what you want, right? So define your sort of end, idea or goal, and goal would be a good, what do you want? Then you have to find someone who's going to fit that in, right? And I think, it's tricky.
It's super hard.
I don't even know if I have a great answer for this. My bias is, shop small, shop female-owned businesses. I think that, like, that is a huge component that sometimes is missed. So really, I think, set your goal, set your target, shop small, and honestly take authority over the situation. So if if you pursue somebody's services and it's not meeting the standards you think you want for yourself, either speak up and say something or find somebody else.
Yes.
And I think that's really key. Like, don't get into a situation where you just feel like you're staying quiet on something that you think is important.
Yeah. I run into that a lot with clients. And again, I think it's more my niche, because I see people that either they've gone to somebody who, is telling them to stop CrossFitting or stop running altogether, which I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Or they don't understand it, or they've been to 17 different people and I'm just like number 18, where women think, and I've been there, I feel it, is like, you're doing everything they tell you to do and things aren't changing. And you're like, oh, well, it's my fault. I'm not doing it enough, or I'm not consistent enough. And what doesn't help is when that, and I'm going to throw our profession under the bus here, when PTs are like, you're non-compliant. Oh, that blows.
Oh, I know.
I know I on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that
and
is
that's not it. Like that. If there's one thing I could tell, and you said it yourself, like have ownership over if this isn't working, and you try and have that conversation. Don't worry about like hurting someone's feelings.
right.
Like if this isn't a match, move on.
Move on. I think that is just,
yeah.
I think like I'm going to like step back a little bit and acknowledge, I think women have a really hard time speaking up for themselves in some of those spaces and environments because of social hierarchy and power structures.
Totally.
And some of the work that I do is helping my clients and women have the language
Yes.
to be able to be self-advocates in dynamics where they feel like they don't have choice.
Yeah.
And I think, in a coaching and physical therapy role, it's critical. Like there's a lot of dogma and a lot of noise that can get in the way of progress.
Well, it goes hand in hand with if you come in with the assumption that there's a right way and everybody's going to give you the same way, which is the right way, and it's not working for you, you have this assumption that, oh no, if the right way is not working for me, I'm going to hit one of your trigger words, then I must be broken.
Yeah.
I mean,
when you start to feel like you're broken and fragile, go somewhere else.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing too, is, you can go, and it's not just personality with your provider. It's, you can go to a provider and get something from them and there's still a gap, go on to the next one. Pre-COVID, I had a woman I was working with that she was working with a male coach, a younger one, for a long time. And he really was giving her the same thing over and over. And she was really limited by a bunch of things. And she had convinced herself, she's like, well, I can't do that. And he only had one way to do it. With COVID, we switched to a virtual coach who was excellent at kind of just scaling and tweaking and playing, and how far she has come in this period of time. And I have COVID to thank for it, because I wouldn't have thought to do that. But I didn't realize how limited she was, just because that particular person had gotten her started, but had so many gaps in what he knew from a postpartum perspective, in a scaling perspective, and
in listening skills.
Girl. Yeah. And he's a lovely person. He's a very nice person.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is just like, again, it comes back to somebody being able to hear what you need. You need and not what I need.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's all about the person that we're working with, it's not about us. And if somebody walks away from us, don't take that personally either. It's get them what they need. So I love that.
Sometimes I do take it personally because I'm
you want to be that person. Like and we got all the feels. We want to do that. So no, that's all good. All right. So in that realm, you have some resources coming up. So I want you to share a little bit more about what you have coming up with the Strength Training for Female Runners webinar series. And that starts when?
That starts February 8th.
Okay.
A 4-part webinar series with 4 doctors of physical therapy and run coach instructors, I guess you could say. And we wanted to set up this series as like this is how through the lifespan, female athletes should be considering in using strength training, I guess you could say. It's really important. We all believe it's very important and crucial to women's health in general. So the whole series is split up. I do the program design on the first week. The second week is the week right after, and it's adolescents, and considerations for adolescent female runners. Then it's adult menstruating runners, or other menstruating runners, and then finally it's like peri and postmenopausal runners. So ideally, we're trying to touch on just like the lifespan of a female athlete and the things that we need to be considered in strength training and how it works maybe a little bit differently in each stage of life.
Yeah. And I would say like there's a lot of, I probably noticed it more this year, probably because I'm paying more attention to the menopause literature. Um, next up, perimenopause. Yeah, because I need that in a pandemic. No, but there's so much conflicting. I feel like it's like when we, 20 years ago when we were talking about, postpartum stuff in the perimenopause and menopause literature about, when you should work out and, what, supplements and hormones and what's good and what's not. And just, I feel like the data is kind of all over the place and there's some really loud, well-known voices that may not be as up to date on things. And so I find that that's, a very confusing, muddled place to be right now.
Yeah. And I think our goal is to really simplify it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's the goal, is like, let's keep it simple. I think that some of the research and discussion in this world specifically is all questioning, like, do we periodize training based on a woman's menstrual cycle? And it's confusing, and hormones are like constantly changing. And I think that the goal is to really help people understand how simple we can make it to achieve really incredible results.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Especially because I have a 7-year-old who's going on 16. God, she's going to be the death of me. I need to learn about that adolescence. All right. So if you want to find Ellie, and if you want to register for the webinar, you can find her on Instagram at the Sisu Wolf. And so she's all over there. She always holds back her opinion. No. Definitely a great follow. So thank you so much, Ellie, for being on. Thank you for always supporting not only women that want to get back to sport, but women in our field and that sort of thing as well. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.